populated places. And the reason is very simple. That is where infrastructure is often concentrated. Better roads, better electricity, much more reliable power and water supply. And that is why cities are more congested. What we are dealing with now in the proposal that we have made to deliver on a sustainable and interrelated basis. Let me conclude the third part, which is the recurrent income. And what you then see is that from the construction where we started, for the states particularly, and Ogun State has shown that fiscal federalism is possible in Nigeria if all states focus on their areas of comparative and competitive advantage. And this was a state that essentially, before this government, used to depend largely on its federal contributions. And without the focus, without the resourcefulness and the desire to compete, perhaps that this administration has shown in the last 5 years, perhaps things might be different. But they are different for a good reason today. And I think they are an example that can inspire others. So what you would then see from construction side is that everybody who earns an income from the Commonwealth must contribute back to the Commonwealth. That's the way to sustain it. And so the minimum thing you can do is to pay taxes. And so as minister, when we return to Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and mobilize thousands of workers back to site, I expect that Ogun and Oyo states, where those workers live and work, will be beneficiaries of the income tax for their local revenue that is derivable from the incomes of those laborers. And from there, you will see, of course, agro-business, roads, for example. The value chain is simply extensive. Roadside markets, fresh from farm produce. Clearly, if you ask the villagers, they will tell you that the numbers have dwindled because the numbers also plying the roads have dwindled. And those are economies that we can power on a sustainable basis, which I believe will happen. I know it will happen because it's clearer to me now than it was yesterday. It means that we will make enormous savings in terms of our disposable income on self-generation and alternative sources of power. And these are parts of the recurrent income that I see. And so, in conclusion, let me reiterate that infrastructure as a catalyst for socio-economic development is eminent common sense. From the Marshall Plan to Obama's stimulus plan to China's aggressive infrastructure renewal, it is the way that economies have been reflated in depression. It is the way that economies have been sustained, even in terms of prosperity. And this is the plan of this administration at federal level to reflate the economy through infrastructure. And that is why the federal government has committed 30% of its budget to capital expenditure. And this is also important to stress that an economy where a significant portion of public spending goes to recurrent expenditure goes only to the very, very small, minute. God help you as you do so. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for those comments of yours. What we're going to do now is we're going to allow everybody here to speak for 5 to 7 minutes. Honorable Commissioner, I know you had a presentation, but unfortunately we don't have time for the presentation. So we spent 5 to 7 minutes. But I'd like to make just a few comments up front. I think Ogun State has a critical
past. If you look around Ogun State today, without being immodest, we can say we have done very well, especially in terms of road infrastructure. But what we realized, the more roads you build, the more vehicles that come on the road. So we need to start thinking of alternative means of moving people. A typical example, when you're driving on this Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, you could see about 1,000 cars, maybe just carrying about 1,000 people. everybody driving their own vehicles. And then we started thinking beyond road infrastructure. Hence, the governor, when he says it all the time, he says, oh, we must do rail, we must do rail. People are thinking, why? You've just done a lot of roads, why do you want to go to rail? But we've come to realize that, look, without a mass transit system, you won't get it right. Hence, what we've done is designed a 5-phase approach to our rail system in Ogun State, so that while it's intrastate, it's also, we can't deny the fact that a lot of people who work in Lagos State, the commercial capital of the country, do live in Ogun State. And right now, the movement is very inefficient because they have to go through, some people have to wake up as early as 4 a.m., 3:30 a.m., just to be able to get to the highland where they walk. So we're thinking, look, why don't we just put a rail? We've got the space, we've got the land, and the infrastructure is there in Ogun State. So why don't we bring these people further into Ogun State? Let people come and live in our PMB estate, which we have just commissioned here. And they get on the train, rather than put your car on the road for the next several hours. You're not even sure when you get there, you know, the wear and tear on your body, on the vehicle, and all that. You can sit down in a train, comfortable cab, and then you're in Marina in 25 minutes, reading some newspaper, getting useful knowledge in a magazine or a textbook. Hence, we've embarked on this 5-phase program, which will link Abeokuta to Shagamu, to Kara and Agbado. By the way, the red line that was planned by Lagos State will terminate at Agbado, which is the boundary for that rail structure within Ogun and Lagos State. So we're hoping to tap into that. If we take our rail via Shagamu to Kara to Agbado, it will link up with the red line in Lagos State, and of course, that red line terminates in Marina. Hence, I said you can live in Abeokuta and get there. That's phase 1. We have 4 other phases on the rail system that we're selling to investors. There's another route that goes through E4, following the old rail line, and also goes to Agbado. There's the one that links our industrial heartland, that is Ota and Agbara. And ultimately, we are hoping to link Agbara to the blue line in Lagos as well, which I think is stopping at Okomaiko now. That's as far as that is concerned. Then we are also linking our major cities in the senatorial district. That is, we are linking Ilaro, Abeokuta, Ilaro, Ota as well. I think that's phase 4. And then the last phase is the one that goes from Shagamu and goes to Jebode, which also links the capital in the east. And as far as the rail is concerned, like I said, we've committed on the phase 1, and hopefully before the year runs out, we hit the ground in terms of the development of the rail and the coaches. And it's a 24-month program. Hopefully, before this administration goes out, the train will run from Abeokuta into Lagos. So that's sort of to answer the moderator. We're thinking beyond the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway when it's completed. We're already thinking of a rail system that will probably run parallel to that, so that I can take the pressure off that road and save the minister a lot of money in terms of maintenance. That's that. Also, we're also looking at air transport within Ogun State. And as it stands, there are 3 airports that are proposed for Ogun State. A lot of people say this is ambitious, but this actually out of necessity. The first one is an old airstrip at Wasimi, which the federal government is pursuing. This old airstrip was used during the World War to convey dead servicemen back to Nigeria. The federal government is hoping to expand this, and it will complement the existing international airports around it, hence forming a regional hub for that area into the West Coast and all that. Of course, there is the initiative of the state government, which is at Iperu. That is a cargo airport. Fully developed, it will integrate into our logistics hub, which is coming up in Shagamu, and of course, will ease the very, very high price. A typical example, a very good example, is the Lagos Metro line, which was aborted then. And of course, I think the Honorable Minister will be able to tell you how much it's costing them to do the present one they are doing in Lagos State now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Commissioner. Maybe when we come to the Q&A, you can give us some ideas of what this master plan is going to cost for all these phases. I'd like to call on Mr. Abiodun Twanla from Planning Projects. Maybe you can talk about, where your own comments around the rail projects and the bankability of some of these projects and what needs to be done for investors to be able to, come on board.
His Excellency, Executive Governor, Honorable Minister, I think it's a privilege to be here in your midst this afternoon and contribute our own ideas to our planning stage up to the operation. Now, you must have everything balanced out. In fact, the easiest thing to do sometimes in rail project is actually construction. But getting the planning right, getting the right alignment, getting the right framework is the hardest job to do. Unfortunately, as a country, we have no track record of being successful in this area. And hence, most of our rail projects are still hanging here and there across the country. I want to suggest, again, that the government should please look into the area of planning so that its own rail project will not end up like some of the other ones we have seen. Yeah, it's easy to say that in 24 months we can get it up and running. I tell you, contractors are only interested in one thing, getting the contract and getting the ground running. But whether they're going to do the right thing, whether we're going to get it running within 24 months is a different thing altogether. So planning is a big issue. And another thing I will mention is the issue of the operation, again, which is similar to planning. You see, railway project, as I said, sometimes the easiest thing to do is construction. Operation-wise, also, they are not known traditionally to make money. Sometimes you need a lot of subsidy to be able to sustain the operations. So are we choosing the right alignment? Are we on the right track in deciding which alignment is going to be most viable? I think this is a question that needs to be answered because it's not enough to say, okay, we put in this rail. How much is going to cost operation-wise? Because you have to factor that in taking a decision in terms of the best alignment. And from some of the studies that we've carried out, we felt that the best alignment that Ogun State can cash in on now actually is something from Shagamu up to Ojota. You see, the reason is not far-fetched. There's an economy in Ogun State that nobody seems to be talking about a lot, which is the religion economy. There's so much going on between, we all know between Ojota and Shagamu. We have Redeemed Christian Church of Nasfat, include within the space of 4 years. I think 2 years is a bit ambitious, but I think government should look into this alignment properly. Working with Lagos State government, of course, and with potential investors. And within that axis is where we can realize a lot